Okay, so let's talk about 9.2. Let's talk about inverse. Okay? Inverse is very easy. Just changing x and y is changed. In order pair, we use what? X value and the y value, right? The inverse is the y, comma, x. That's the inverse function. So before we talk about the inverse function, let's talk about 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1. Here's my paper. I forgot to bring it. Okay, good. So I didn't have any answer. Okay, so 1, 2, 1 function is each value, okay? Each x value, which is the input, corresponds to the only one y output, okay? And then each y value, which is the output, corresponds to only one x values, okay? So how do we know letter A? This is the relation with the f function. 4 comma -3, 3 comma -4, and then 2 comma 7, and then 5 comma 0. So how do we know this is the function or not a function? So I'm going to repeat one more time. X value. So these are the X value, right? Correspond only what? One Y value. Okay? So there will be no two Y value. Okay, one Y value. And then Y value is also what? Each Y value corresponds to what? Only one X value. So 4 choose the -3. And then what? 3 comma -4. And then 2 comma 7. And then 5 comma 0. This is 1, 2, 1, or say yes or no.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 1, 2, 1. X choose only one Y value, and also Y value choose only what? One X value, right? What about G function then? What happened to the G function?
It's not
Not Y. I mean, you don't have to say Y, but if I say Y, then what? Y.
like two fours and a
Yeah.
five on.
8 choose 4, right? Can you see that? And then what? 6 choose 4. If you see that, it's not 1, 4. X can choose only what? One Y. And also Y value can choose only what? Only one X value. But see this? This is not right. Make sense? Make sense? What about H? 2 comma 4, 1 comma 3, 4 comma 6, and then -2 comma 4. This is also what? Can you see that 4 is repeating? Not 1, 2, 1. Question? It makes sense? What about the letter D? It's not it's order pair, but we can make order pair, right? X is the what? The year, number of years. 1950, 1963, 68, 75, and 97, and 2008. And then the Y value is on the bottom. The federal minimum wage, 75 cents, $1.25, $1.60, $2.10, $5.15, $6.55. Is that 1, 2, 1 or not 1, 2, 1? Yes, 1, 2, 1, is it? Okay. X corresponds only one Y value, and also Y value corresponds to what? Only one X value, right? This is X, and this is the Y, right? What about letter E? Is it 1-to-1 or not 1? What do you think?
Not 1-to-1.
Why?
Because there's 2 dots on the Y line.
Exactly. Can you see this 2 dot? This 2 dot has what? The first one is the 2, 2, and then the second one is the 3, 2. See here? 2Y value repeating. So that's why this is not 1-to-1. Make sense? What about this one? There are 6 states, and then on the left hand side, so this I'm going to say this is X, and then the Y is the average of SAT. The mean means is average of SAT math score. So this is the Y. So this diagram is the 1-to-1. Indiana and Ohio has the what? Same average of SAT math score, which is 534, right? The Y value is there are 2 534, right? Can you see that? So that's why this is what? Not 1-to-1. Okay. Question about this. A through F. So this one is just look at the order pair, right? And then you can tell this is 1-to-1 or not 1-to-1. What about graphing? The graphing is through, how do we know this graph is the 1-to-1 or not? Horizontal line test. So you have to draw the horizontal line on the graph and then see how many times touch the graph. Only one time, then 1-to-1. But more than 2 or more, then you what? Not 1-to-1. Okay? So like this. 2 times. So that's why this is what? Not 1-to-1. Make sense? If you draw the horizontal line, can you see the 2Y value is going to be the same, isn't it? Can you see that? I mean, my line is not straight, but. What about the next one? Only one. 1-to-1, right? What about this one? 1-to-1. So B and C touches only 1 times, right? But letter D, well, 3 times maybe, or 4 times. So not 1-to-1. What about letter E? 1-to-1, right? Because it touches only 1 time. Question. So you can look at the order pair and then you can see, you can decide this is 1-to-1 or not a 1-to-1 function. And also when you look at the graph, through the horizontal line test, you can decide 1-to-1 or not a 1-to-1. Okay. Question. Then let's find the inverse function. The inverse of the one-to-one function, okay? So only one-to-one function can have inverse, okay? One-to-one function, f is the one-to-one, and the function f inverse. This is inverse, f to the -1, right? That is the inverse notation, okay? So the inverse of f that consists of what? Set of odd order pairs with what? Pair of what? Like I said, inverse is a flip over, right? Y, comma, x. We have to change, okay? Where the x comma y belongs to f, okay? The f function has x comma y, right? But the inverse function has the flip it. The y and x is the flip it, okay? So here's example. I mean, very silly example, but f inverse. So f function is 3, 4, -2, 0, and then 2, 8, and then 6, 6. But as you can see, this is the one-to-one, right? Right? There's no repeating number on y or x, right? So then f inverse is gonna be 4, 3, flip it, 0, -2, and then 8, 2, and then 6, 6. That's the inverse. Just change x and y. Very, very simple. Yeah. So you can look at all the order pairs, and then you can find the inverse, right? So question on the first page. And then when I look at the equation, then how do you find the inverse? Okay. So for example, like f of x is equal to 6 minus x. Then how do we know? How do we find the inverse function? So there are 4 steps to do. You have to replace the f of x with y. And step number 2 is you have to interchange the x and y. And then step number 3 is you have to solve for y. And then last step is you have to replace the y as inverse function. That is the 4th step. So I'm gonna follow these steps, okay? So step number 1. Step number 1, it says what? You have to replace the f of x with the y. So that's why this is the y equal to 6 minus x. So this is step number 1. Easy? Okay? And then step number 2, it says interchange x and y because we are looking for what? Inverse, right? So x and y is flip it.
Yes.
So x is equal to 6 minus y. This is interchange. X and y is changed. Can you see that? X goes to here, the y goes to here. That's the step number 2. And then step number 3. You have to solve for what? You have to solve for y. That's the step number 3. So I think we have to subtract 6. So x minus 6 equal to -y. And then you have to divide by -1. So the y is going to be -x plus 6. So the 1x divided by -1 is -x, and then -6 divided by -1 is +6. So y is equal to, so I'm going to rewrite it. Y is equal to -x plus 6. That's the step number 3. Then we have one more step, right? What is the final step? You have to replace the y with notation, inverse notation. So inverse notation is f to the -1 of x is equal to what? Negative x plus 6. Just copy. This is how to change the inverse. Question? So same as the second example. Step number 1, you have to replace the f of x with y. And then step number 2, you have to interchange the x and y, right? So it'll be x is equal to 5y plus 2. And then step number 3, you have to solve for what? You have to solve for y, right? So you have to subtract 2 equal to 5y. And then divided by 5. Then it's going to be 1 over 5x. No. Just, you don't have to do that. X minus 2 over 5 equal to y. Or, I mean, you can do 1 over 5x minus 2 over 5 equal to y. Either one, okay. Either one is fine. It doesn't matter. So, step number 4, you have to change the inverse, right? Equal to x minus 2 over 5. Or you can say 1 over 5x minus 2 over 5. So either one. Either one is what? The last one is this. To determine whether the two functions are inverse of each other. So if these two function, the inverse of this is this, how do we know? Like you can do the composite. We can test through the composite function. So f, the inverse of f composite f of x is give us x, and or f composite f of x is give us x, then they are inverse each other, okay? So I'm gonna show you this and also this. Okay. So this composite, at the end, you're gonna get x. And then this composition must be equal to x, then therefore these two is what? Inverse each other. So let's do this. So this part is the f inverse of what? F of x. Right? Last Thursday, we learned about that. And then now we have to focus on the f of x, right? Do you remember that? This one. So f of x is the 4x minus 1. And the f inverse of 4x minus 1. So this 4x minus 1 plug in where? Into the f inverse, right? So that's why this one is into where? This inverse, okay? Into the x. So that's why 4x minus 1 and then plus 1 over 4. So this one, I'm going to repeat one more time. 4x minus 1 into the inverse function, into the x. Okay? And then everything else is going to be the same. So plus 1 over 4. Okay? So let's simplify it. This 2 is out, right? Negative 1 plus 1 is what? 0. And then this one is going to be 4x over 4, which is what? X, which is this. Perfect, right? So halfway done. The next one is f and the f inverse of x. So the f inverse of x, this one, you must plug into x plus 1 over 4. That's the f inverse. And now this x plus 1 over 4, this one is now is you have to plug in the f function. F function is right there next to the x. Okay? So 4 times x plus 1 over 4 and then minus 1. So it gives us x. Yeah, because 4 and 4 is out. So it'll be x plus 1 minus 1. That is give us what? X. So therefore, they are what? These two functions are what? Inverse each other. Question. So 9.2 practice problem. Number 1 is inverse. So I think you got the. So before we do this is 1-to-1 or not 1-to-1? That's the question, right? So we have only one, like -1, 6, and 9, and 2, and then we have a y value, -1, and 6, and 2, and 9. There is no repeating number. So This is the one-to-one. And then now you can find the inverse. Flip it. And the 2, 9, and then 9, 2. Like that. If it's not one-to-one, then there'll be no inverse. Okay? All right. So if it's not one-to-one, then there'll be no inverse. So make sure. And number 2 is just, this is the graph. And then if you draw the horizontal line, touches the one only one time, so that's why this is a one-to-one function. Because it's touched only one times, right? And then number 3 is you have to find the inverse, so it'll be y equal to 4x minus 8. That's the step number 1. F of x needs to change the y. Step number 2, interchange the x and y. So x is equal to 4y minus 8, right? And then you have to what? Step number 3 is you have to solve for y, right? So plus 8, and then divided by 4. So the y is equal to x plus 8 over 4. And then now the last step is inverse, right? So the f inverse is equal to x plus 8 over 4. Okay. Number 7, same thing. Okay, so from now, x is equal to y minus 1 over 7. So how do we solve for x? Solve for y? The first step is this, okay? I'm gonna multiply by what? 7 on the left side and on the right hand side. 7 is out. So it is 7x equal to y minus 1. So now 7 is gone, right? So and then I'm gonna add 1. Then y is gonna be what? 7x plus 1. Right? Okay. So if you have a fraction, just multiply by power number. Okay, left to then right. And then now you can answer the question. So the f inverse of x equal to 7x plus 1. Question on number 4. Number 5, the y is equal to third root of x minus 2. And same thing, interchange. X is equal to third root of y minus 2. So my question is, how to remove the cube root? You have to raise to the what? Same power with index. Do you remember that? Right? So same power with index. Like that. Then you're gonna get x cubed is equal to, now is cross out the cube root, y minus 2. And then I'm gonna add 2. And then you're gonna get y is equal to x cubed plus 2. Then now you can answer the question like that. Question. Number 6. This is going to be a little bit different. So x is equal to 5 over 6y plus 6, right? So you have to interchange the x and y, right? Then how do we solve for x? This is the key. So I'm going to give you a tip, okay? If you have, see here, for example, like 10 over 5, okay? What is 10 over 5? 10 over 5 is what? 2. It's a silly question. It's 2, right? So if I change this one and this number, exchange, it's going to be the same, isn't it? So 5 is equal to 10 divided by 2. It's the same thing, isn't it? So that number, this number, we can flip it, right? Because of this, right? Same thing, right? So that's why I'm going to use this method. I'm going to flip it. X and 2y plus 6. Flip it. Like that. So then 2y plus 6 equal to 5 over x. It's the same thing. And then now you can solve for x. Subtract 6. And then divided by 2. Then y is going to be 5 over x minus 6 over 2. I know this is weird, right? But we can fix that. 5 over x divided by 2 minus 6 divided by 2, right? This is the y, right? So the y is, this one is going to be 5 over 2x minus 3. Because 5 over x divided by 2 is 5 over x times 1 over 2, right? So that's why 5 over 2x. So that's why the inverse is question. Number 7 is the y is equal to x plus 3 cubed, and then x is equal to y plus 3 cubed. So how do we solve for y? We're going to put the cube root. I'm going to put that in the cube root on the left side and on the right hand side. And then you're going to get cube root of x is equal to y plus 3 because it's the root is gone. So this one is going to be y is equal to cube root of negative 3. So f inverse of x is equal to third root of minus 3. Okay, I think number 6 and 7 is tricky, right? Okay. No question? Okay. Number 8. So how do we know f of x is equal to 3x minus 5 and f inverse of x, x plus 5 over 3? How do we know these two functions are inverse each other? So you have to prove these two. Right? So must be these two must be equal to x. Okay. So the first one, as you can see, f inverse of x. So this one, the inverse is f of what? X plus 5 over 3. That is f inverse. And then this inverse, this x plus 5 over 3, you have to plug into the x, right? And then minus 5. And then as you can see, 3 and 3 is out. And then x plus 5 minus 5, that is equal to x, which is this. So first one is good. On the second part is inverse. F of x is gonna be 3x minus 5. So 3x minus 5, you have to plug into the inverse, right? Into the x. So plus 5 all over 3. So as you can see, negative 5 and 5 is out. So only 3x over 3, which is x. That's equal to that. So the answer is A, because the inverse of f, the inverse composite f of x give us x, right? Because over here, right? And then f composite inverse of x has also x, right? So that's why letter A is the answer.